Just a few decades ago, if you wanted to watch a movie at home, you had to leave the house. People drove to small stores filled with movie tapes, hoping their film was still available. Those places were everywhere. Today, almost all of them are gone. So what happened to video rental stores? And how did an entire industry disappear so fast? But there was always a risk. If you arrived too late, the spot on the shelf might already be empty. Someone else had rented the last copy. That meant your plan for the evening suddenly changed. You had to search again, walk through the aisles, and find something else. No streaming, no instant play button, just rows of plastic cases and the quiet pressure to choose the right movie before someone else grabbed it. Today, that entire experience has almost disappeared. Video rental stores once stood on busy corners in nearly every town. Their glowing signs were easy to recognize, especially at night when the lights inside made the windows shine onto the street. On weekends, the parking lots were often full. People came in groups, families with kids, teenagers looking for horror movies, couples searching for something to watch together. But now, in most places, those stores are gone. Many people under a certain age have never even stepped inside one. So what happened? How did something that felt so normal, so permanent, disappear so quickly? The story of video rental stores is not just about movies. It's about how technology slowly changed the way we spend our free time at home, and how convenience quietly replaced traditions people followed for years without thinking about them. For many years, video rental stores were a central part of everyday life, especially during the 1980s and 1990s. Back then, watching a movie at home was very different from today. There were no streaming platforms, no giant digital libraries, and no simple search bars that instantly found the film you wanted. Instead, people used VHS tapes. These were large plastic cassettes that contained the movie on magnetic tape. To watch them, you needed a machine called a VCR. The VCR usually sat under the television, connected with a few cables. When you inserted the tape, the machine slowly pulled the film inside and began to play it on the screen. Buying VHS movies, however, was expensive. Much more expensive than people today might imagine. A single tape could cost a surprising amount of money. Because of this, most families didn't build huge movie collections. Instead, they rented films for a short time and returned them after watching. That's where video rental stores became important. Inside these stores, there were long shelves filled with hundreds or even thousands of movies. Each film sat inside a plastic case with colorful artwork on the front and a short description on the back. New releases were usually placed along the walls so customers could see them immediately when entering the store. Older films were placed in aisles organized by genre. There might be sections for action movies, comedies, horror films, dramas, family movies, and sometimes even foreign cinema. Walking through these aisles was part of the experience. People didn't rush. They slowly looked at the covers, picked up cases, read the descriptions, and tried to decide what would be worth watching that night. In many ways, it felt like visiting a small movie library, and choosing the movie could take time. Families often spent 20 or 30 minutes just discussing their options. Children wanted cartoons or adventure movies. Parents preferred something calmer. Friends argued about whether to watch a comedy or an action film. The discussion itself became part of the evening. The choice mattered because most people rented only one or two movies. If you picked something boring, that was your entire movie night. There was also another factor that made the experience more exciting. Each movie only had a limited number of copies available. If a film was extremely popular, it could disappear from the shelf quickly. When that happened, the shelf would show only an empty space where the case should be. Customers immediately understood what it meant. Someone else had already taken the last copy. Some people even learned the schedule of the store. They knew which days new movies arrived. On those days, they came early, hoping to rent the newest release before anyone else. Behind the counter, employees handled the rentals. Customers needed membership cards to borrow movies. The employee scanned the movie, recorded the rental in the system and reminded the customer when it needed to be returned. Most rentals lasted 1 or 2 days. If you kept the movie longer than that, the store began charging late fees. Late fees became famous. Many people still remember them clearly. Forgetting to return a movie on time could become expensive very quickly. But for rental stores, those fees were extremely profitable. They were an important part of how the business survived. During the late 1980s and throughout the 1990s, the video rental industry grew rapidly. Small, independent stores opened in many neighborhoods. At the same time, large chains began expanding across the country. The most famous of these chains was Blockbuster. Its blue and yellow stores became a familiar sight in cities and suburbs. At its peak, Blockbuster had thousands of locations around the world and employed tens of thousands of people. Visiting a Blockbuster on a Friday night became a weekly routine for many families. The store was usually busy and full of energy. People walked through the aisles holding movie cases, reading the back covers, and discussing what to watch. For a long time, the business looked unstoppable, but technology was already beginning to change the situation. In the late 1990s, DVDs slowly replaced VHS tapes. DVDs were much smaller and easier to store. They offered clearer picture quality and allowed viewers to skip scenes instantly without rewinding. Video rental stores quickly adapted. Shelves that once held large VHS tapes were soon filled with slim DVD cases. At first, this change actually helped the business. DVDs were cheaper to produce and easier for customers to use. For a while, rental stores continued to operate successfully. But while stores were adjusting to DVDs, something new was quietly growing on the internet. A company called Netflix introduced a different idea. Instead of driving to a store, customers could rent movies online. They selected DVDs on a website, and the films arrived in the mail inside simple envelopes. After watching the movie, customers placed the disc back in the envelope and sent it back. The system was simple and surprisingly convenient, but the most important detail was this: there were no late fees. Customers could keep the DVD as long as they wanted before returning it. This small change attracted many people who were tired of worrying about deadlines. At first, traditional rental stores didn't think this system would replace their business. Driving to a store still felt normal. Waiting for a movie in the mail didn't seem very exciting. But Netflix was already moving toward its next idea. As internet speeds improved in the early 2000s, streaming technology became possible. Instead of sending physical discs, movies could be delivered directly through the internet. This completely changed the industry. Streaming removed many of the limits that rental stores had always faced. There were no shelves, no limited copies, and no closing hours. A movie could be watched instantly by millions of people at the same time. Customers no longer needed to drive anywhere. They simply opened an app, chose a movie, and pressed play. The convenience was impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, video rental stores still had the same expenses they always had. They needed physical buildings, employees, electricity, and inventory. Streaming companies didn't have those same limits. Slowly but steadily, rental stores began losing customers. Small local shops closed first. Then larger chains started struggling. Even Blockbuster, once the most powerful name in home entertainment, eventually collapsed. Within just a couple of decades, an entire industry disappeared. Today, only a few rental stores still exist, often as small, nostalgic businesses. People sometimes visit them just to experience what movie nights once felt like. The fall of video rental stores shows how quickly everyday habits can change when technology offers a simpler solution. People didn't stop loving movies. In fact, we probably watch more films today than ever before, but the way we watch them has completely changed. Instead of walking through aisles and holding movie cases, we scroll through endless lists on a screen. Video rental stores didn't disappear because people lost interest in films. They disappeared because technology created a faster, easier, and more convenient way to watch them. And once that happened, the old way simply couldn't